You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, along with former number one bowler in the world, Steve Harmison. And you can now watch us on YouTube. Just head over to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel and subscribe. Okay, the subject, as I promised in the introduction, about the IPL's expansion. IPL chairman Aaron Dumal says that the BCCI will seriously consider a full home and away format from the next media rights cycle in 2028. It means that the IPL will expand, if it does, to 94 matches. No new teams added, still the 10 franchises. Currently, the league comprises 74 matches, so there'd be another 20. I thought, Matt, you wrote a brilliant piece. You always write brilliant pieces about the expansion on Cricinfo, and because it was suggested that it would happen a couple of years ago. And just recap that, seeing as you've done the work, recap the reasons why it didn't expand and what the ramifications might be for expansion, and is it inevitable?
Well, thanks very much for that, first of all, Manners. Yeah, I think it's an interesting scenario at the moment in the IPL where you have a situation where not every team plays everyone else home and away. So the intention ever since they introduced two new teams, which are Gujarat and Lucknow, we're in the fourth season of them existing at the moment. The intention, I think, has always been to grow to 94 games, which allows a full home and away season. I think the reason it's not happened so far is just it is hard to find that full window in the international calendar in the Future Tours program. If you think this year the Champions Trophy ended the second week of March, I think, and the IPL started about 10 days later. So if they brought it further any forward, then it would have been super tight with the Champions Trophy final. And if you push the end dates back any later, you're hitting monsoon season in India. The possible remedy to that to get more games in would be to play more double headers, but the broadcast like double headers because the afternoon games always rate much lower. And also, yeah, I think from a competitive point of view, I think the teams are sort of gradually thinking maybe we do need to go to 94. So clearly, it is something they're actively considering, and I think with the Future Tours program for 2027 onwards really being thrashed out over the next probably 12 months or so, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a slightly longer window carved out for IPL so they can put an extra 2 weeks in.
But Matt, what does that do for the global game? Or is nobody really in India that bothered about the global game? Is it all about just making sure that this IPL is making as much money as it possibly can? Because you've already said there, they're not interested in double headers because it don't make much money.
Yeah, it's a good question, Harmy. I think it's one that will be discussed at times, but I think first and foremost from the BCCI's point of view, I think they from a financial perspective, I think it makes so much more sense for them to expand the IPL. If you think about if they were to play an extra, say, 5-match T20 series with a rest day between each game minimum, that's going to take them 9 days, and they're going to get 5 nights of T20 cricket. If they chuck in an extra 20 games of IPL, they can get that done in maybe 15 days, and you've got T20 on every night. So from a financial perspective, I think they see it as a no-brainer. The issue, obviously, is then what it does to the rest of the international calendar. And from the English perspective, from the South African perspective, from the West Indian perspective, you'd probably look at that and think this is going to squeeze Test cricket even harder. This is going to squeeze bilateral cricket even harder. But I think what we're seeing generally, and I think what we'll see in that next Future Tours program, is a bit of a reckoning for bilateral cricket between international teams, and I particularly mean their ODI cricket and T20 cricket. I think with the way that the World Test Championship has been a success, and with the crowds that we saw in Australia's series against India quite recently, I think those big Test series will still happen. But I think there is going to be that big crunch on bilateral limited overs cricket.
Matt, I know we wanted to talk to you about expansion, but can I just divert the conversation towards overseas players? There was a time 6 or 7 years ago, or for the first dozen years of the IPL, it was absolutely inconceivable that a franchise wouldn't use their full quota of 4 overseas players. A couple of weeks ago, in a game between Gujarat and Delhi, they only started with 2 each. So is it that India are producing so many more of their own players who are better? I mean, is India just pulling clear of the rest of the world when it comes to T20 cricket? I mean, are the rest of the world stars not good enough anymore, or are they becoming? I don't know. I'm fascinated by the lack of international players.
I think there's certainly an element of the fact that Indian cricket has just got unbelievable depth. I mean, I'm speaking to you the morning after we've seen a 14-year-old hit a 35 ball 100 for Rajasthan Royals. So that proves that there's no shortage of talent in Indian T20 cricket at the moment. I do actually think one other thing that has happened in the last few years is that while the commercial success of the IPL, I think, is unquestionable if you look at the values of the franchises, I don't think player salaries, and I know there's some huge numbers at the top end, but I think overall the salary cap hasn't grown maybe quite as much as it might have in relation to the commercial success of the league. So I do think you're seeing a situation in some cases where some sort of fringe international players may be thinking, actually, for 9 weeks in India, I might be earning this much, and I could actually get that from playing 4 weeks in the ILT20 in Dubai or 4 weeks in the SA20 in South Africa. Maybe I'll go with one of those instead and then not bother with the IPL. So we've seen that with a few English players this year, didn't bother entering, particularly because they've got a big year of international cricket ahead. But some guys have opted to go to the Pakistan Super League instead, where they might be earning similar amount, but for 6 weeks work instead of 9. Slightly less time away from home. So I think in terms of that depth maybe of international cricketers, I think or overseas players, I should say, I think maybe the 60th best international player is now choosing to go to a different league and rather than going for sort of base price in the IPL. So I think there's an element of both things you mentioned there.
Matt, what do you make of Lancashire Chief Executive Daniel Gidney suggesting that the ECB should sell a stake in the 100 to the I'm trying to keep a straight face. I mean, I can't. Yeah. He said that the ECB should sell a stake in the 100 to the BCCI to release some Indian players. That's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah. To play devil's advocate a bit, I was speaking to Daniel Gidney when he gave that answer, and I was very much pitching it as if you were to try and get Indian players into the 100, what would the solution be, or how would we achieve that? I can't see the BCCI changing their stance anytime soon on Indian internationals, or active Indian men's internationals, I should say, playing in overseas leagues. I think that's such a big thing for the IPL, as it has that exclusivity around the Indian superstars that make the league what it is. So I can't see that changing anytime soon. I did note last week, actually, that New Zealand Cricket have just bought a stake in one of the new teams in Major League Cricket for 2026 onwards, I think. So maybe it's not as outlandish as it first seemed. Maybe this is something. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, the idea that a national board would own a stake in an overseas franchise team ordering in now in the T20 era.
Matt Roddup, ESPN Cricket Info's assistant editor. We're having a few problems with the connection, so and I know that you've got a big afternoon coming up, but loving your work, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for your time, mate.